I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
And it is a wonderful world, and you can have a wonderful life if you will take tragedy and turn it into treasure. Why? Because God has a plan for your life. He wants the best for you and for those that, well, you're going to end up influencing, even through your pain. Just what are we talking about? Well, you're going to find out by tuning in and listening as we go along, as our guest comes to us from a deep background on this week's edition to Your Wonderful Life. Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Andy Q. We get together every week to talk about how to make your life better. A major key to your better future is you, and no matter what you're going through, you can do something to make your life better. We're going to get to that, but first I want to thank our engineering team, led by the big boss, Howard Drescher. Hello, Howard. Aaron and Sergio are with us somewhere, running around doing what they're doing, pulling levers and such.
Maybe even pushing buttons.
Cowering Kirk is downstairs holding the door open for our guest, on the lookout to make sure she comes in, and she doesn't. We've got a show anyway, Mr. Bill. Our producer, Leah, is out doing what she's doing. And that voice you hear kind of trying to get a word in edgewise is Mr. Bill Hatch. Hello, Mr. Bill.
Hello, Pastor Andy.
Well, before we get to our guest, there's been a few little nuggets in the news that may have escaped the regular
nuggets
audience.
in the news.
Well, Beth Greenfield in Yahoo Health. And, you know, if you want solid health, you can either go to the Mayo Clinic's journal. You can go to the AMA, the journal. You can go to JAMA, or
Both
Journal
good
of
sources.
Yes. Or you can go to Yahoo Health. I prefer to go to Yahoo Health.
Probably a little more readable, but for the average person.
The writer, well, and I'm slightly below there. So Beth Greenfield was the writer for this article, and she said, she says nothing is new for negative press is nothing strange for reality star Janelle Evans, one of 4 drama-prone young women whose lives are documented, for better or for worse, on the MTV series. Do you know what series she's on?
No, which one?
Teen Mom. This is Teen Mom 2.
Heard of it, never watched it. Seen little clips here and there, though.
Well, there was something outrageous going on with Janelle Evans, at least in my opinion.
Isn't that the whole point of Teen Mom, is something outrageous?
Yeah, boy, I don't know about this one, though. She was smoking cigarettes.
A positive role model for her child, I'm sure.
Yeah, despite the fact that she was breastfeeding the younger of her 2 kids, 2-month-old Kaiser. He's going to need to go to Kaiser, I think, if he's been on that.
Yikes.
Now, of course, in the tweetosphere, is that what you call it?
Tweetosphere? I don't know.
I just made that up.
Okay.
Maybe. I probably didn't. But, you know, social media, you can't get away with anything these days. It shows, well, you know, first of all, this kid's sleeping, first came the tweeted photo of the woman's boyfriend, Nathan Griffith, who's sleeping on a recliner with a pack of cigarettes on the floor. And then Evans says, I'm outside smoking a cigarette right now, LOL. Now, how do you suppose everybody reacted to that? You know, go back and hold that poor baby. I'm sure he's having a nicotine fit too, is what they said. Oh my gosh.
The one thing you can always depend on the internet for is snide remarks and sarcasm.
Oh boy, oh boy. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, being a Christian does not mean you can be a Christian and be a smoker. There's nothing in the Bible that says thou shalt not smoke.
Yeah.
But seems to me that you probably should be taking better care of your daughter or son if you're breastfeeding. But then again, I don't know what the science is on that.
No, I'm sure the secondhand smoke thing probably falls into that.
Well, they're drinking in the nicotine in this.
Yeah. And they're probably breathing too, you know, the baby. So any smoke coming along, you know, and it's all over the place.
Well, maybe it's actually good for the child.
Oh, clear out the lungs. The old Chesterfield cigarettes.
Yeah,
ad.
Ron Reagan telling us it's good. 1 out of 4 doctors say it's pure smoking.
Pure smoking pleasure.
Yeah, I just would not keep smoking. Or maybe this is a time to switch. I don't know. The benefits of breastfeeding are so great.
Mm-hmm.
Do the downside? Does the downside of nicotine make that? Do they balance out? I don't know.
I mean, CVS feels so strongly against smoking now. They've cleared all of their smoking products out of all of their stores. It's really kind of weird to go into one for the first time and see a blank wall behind the registers for the first time.
That is quite commendable. I heard about that. And
that's huge business.
Yeah, big revenue.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of those e-cigarettes?
I think the jury's still out on those.
Some folks were talking after church, and actually one woman was out there smoking one of those. You can't smell the secondhand smoke at all. I mean, secondhand mist.
Yeah. Although, have you seen the one commercial on the TV for one particular e-cigarette brand? Apparently, e-cigarettes are what our future depends on. From the message this commercial gives, it's about our strong future, and it relies on one thing: our e-cigarette brand, which gives you a perfect puff every time.
Yes, yeah. Well, it might be just a good example of puffery, as we like to say.
Yeah, when
in
I first saw
advertising.
it, I thought it was going to be some technology company or somebody, some company trying to make more food for the world or whatever. But no, it was e-cigarettes.
Mm.
Yeah.
On a real serious note here, people give too much credit to pastors. I think, here's the headline. This is from Christianity Today. We've got from staff writer Sarah Zelstra. I said that perfectly.
I'm sure you did.
Your pastor is just as likely to experience mental illness as any other American.
Well, most people would have to be a little crazy to get into ministry in the first place. So.
Yeah. Well, so you would say even crazier. According to Lifeway Research Survey, commissioned by Focus on the Family, nearly 1 in 4 pastors, 23% actually, acknowledge that they have personally struggled with mental illness. And 12% of these pastors said the illness had been diagnosed, according to the poll. And, 1 in 4 U.S. adults experience mental illness in a given year. So...
Well, it kind of makes sense with with people in ministry. I mean, remember last year the documentary Betrayed, the clergy killer's DNA.
I do remember.
And the stats they had that the vast majority of ministers will not work in full-time ministry until the age of retirement, and they're assaulted on all sides, and even the people who mean well, see them maybe 1 or 2 hours a week and don't realize that they're working 40 or 50 times that every week, between home visits and hospital visits and preaching and the various little things that tear away at a pastor's time, and then that thing. Oh, family, yes, their own families, and sleep and all that. So it's not surprising one bit that they would be suffering and in need. So. Reach out and hug your pastor.
I'm surprised it's not even greater, because it is very difficult, to just bathe in people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would imagine that the numbers are probably underreported. How many pastors do you think out there don't want anyone to know that they have a problem?
Oh yeah.
Whether or not they're in fundamentalist churches where they preach that those things don't exist. Or just being worried that their congregation aren't going to feel they can rely on them.
Well, here's what Ed Stelzer, executive director of Lifeway Research, told Christianity Today. He said, "We have to break the stigma that causes people to say. We have to break the stigma that causes people to say that people with mental illness are of no value." What else? What happens is pastors who are struggling with mental illness tend not to say that they are until I guess, I mean, I can wade through this article that, but basically they're not going to open their mouths and commit career suicide by saying, I'm really depressed, because people are going to say, gee, why don't you just turn to God? That's all you need to do, which is sometimes the simplistic solution.
A little overly so.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the news. When we come back, we're going to give you some news that's going to help you personally. And that is news from our guest, who is Sharon Marshall Lockett. She's going to be back with a wagon load of things that are going to help you on with this life that we like to call your wonderful life.
Come to the water, you who thirst, and you'll thirst no more.
Angels Radio.
AM 830.
Hello, everybody. Pastor Andy Q here with some bad news. If you spend one dime anywhere, you might be getting ripped off. You see, your friendly neighborhood store, dry cleaners, restaurant, or whatever takes credit cards. Then their not-so-friendly bank is overcharging them for the cost of credit card processing. Guess who ends up paying for the overcharges? You do. Help stop the rip-offs. Have your friendly neighborhood merchant call Lisa at American Payment Solutions. They provide credit card processing for the lowest amount with none of the so-called hidden charges. How do they do it? They keep a low overhead and they're honest. How do I know? I've known their CEO for over 25 years. For a free cost comparison, that's right, free, right over the phone, call your local rep Lisa on her cell phone at 949-584-2884. That's Lisa at 949-584-2884. For quality credit card processing for less, call 949-584-2884.
Massage Heights, offering premier massage experiences across the U.S. and Canada, has come to Southern California. Massage Heights is unique in offering top-notch therapy at an affordable price in a resort-like setting. Massages are customized, one price for any blend of modalities. Their licensed massage therapists have been trained to help you identify your needs and will offer just the right therapy for you to be in for pain, tension, stress, or just plain relaxation. All sessions include free aromatherapy. Summer is ending and school is starting. Give back to yourself after all the running around for back to school. Mention AM 830 or ESPN in scheduling an introductory appointment through September and receive a free revitalizing foot scrub valued at $40 as part of your service.
Offer available to first-time visitors in any of the following Massage Heights locations: Irvine, Mission Viejo, Newport Beach, Chino Hills, and Rancho Cucamonga. Go to massageheights.com to connect to the participating retreat nearest you. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins welcome.
Pastor Andy Q, it is your wonderful life on a wonderful Sunday night again, and I hope you have a wonderful experience by going to Massage Heights. They are our new sponsor, so please make sure to mention AM 830 or ESPN, and they've got a freebie for you on that, and gosh, it's just a wonderful place. Have you been into Massage Heights yet, Mr. Bill?
I have not had the opportunity yet.
They're different. I've been into some sketchy-looking places. There one place, Lisa and I had a coupon, a Groupon coupon to go in, and this place looked like it was being run out of a garage.
Wow!
It was in a strip mall, but a real old strip mall, and it looked like it was a parking section that had been converted to a mall.
Wow.
Nothing like Massage Heights. It's first class in that place.
Yeah, and usually I don't have bad experiences with those Groupons, but it sounds like that wasn't top notch. So. Yeah, maybe next massage I'll go out and try Massage Heights. Where are they located?
Well, you can go all over the Southland, but Newport Beach, Chino Hills, Rancho Cucamonga, Irvine, and Mission Viejo. I've been to the Mission Viejo one, and I understand we had Leah with an experience at the Newport Beach location. So, Massage Heights, give them a go. Help support them because they help support us. Mm-hmm. We have the pleasure of having in studio with us a remarkable woman. She has really got her finger in a lot of pies. She's an educator, author, speaker. She leads and writes with expertise, excellence, and passion. She's the author of 20 books. I've looked at these books, everything from education to grief recovery. She's a professor of education at Vanguard University and California Graduate School of Theology. She's a speaker and workshop leader. And her name is Sharon Marshall Lockett. Welcome to Your Wonderful Life.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Pastor Andy.
Now, look, I want to get into it right away. I want to hear your story because I read something you wrote. In fact, let me read this for our audience. Here are your words. I never dreamed I would be divorced. I never thought I would have to someday bury a baby. Single parenting was something others did, not me. I never thought of myself as the mother of the handicapped. And then you say, within 13 months, I was all of these. I wished to die, but I had a son who deserved to live. And I have discovered that God always gives us a reason to live. You see why I might think she's got a story in there, Mr. Bill?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it.
Tell us a little bit about your life.
I do have a story, and within 13 months, there were 4 major deaths in my family, one of them my infant son. There's just something very wrong about burying a baby, and suddenly I was everything I had never wanted to be. I moved. I lost my home. I lost everything, relocated, went through a horribly painful divorce. One of the things I've learned since then is that losing a baby, losing a child, is so traumatic on a marriage that about 20% of marriages survive a crisis like that. And mine became one of those statistics. So I moved, and I was a teacher in search of a job. Teachers were a dime a dozen at that time. I could not find a job in the profession of my choosing. So I was hired by UC Irvine. I had a friend who worked there, so you use whatever resources you have. I hated it for a long time, and every year I would try to find my job as a teacher. In that position, I was given the names of 600 students who were considered high risk. They had been identified in middle school as probably not going to college. And my mandate was to make them eligible for the University of California within 4 years. I went out to meet them and discovered that they were everything from gifted to learning disabled, and wrote a grant just to get money to do what the students themselves were telling me they needed and what I sensed in interviewing them. So I started life all over again. I just picked up the pieces and put one foot in front of another and worked hard and tried to be a good parent to my son, as the two of us realized that 2 people do indeed make a family. Well, 3 years later, 40% of those students graduated eligible for the University of California. They graduated in the top 12.5% of their high school graduating class. And 40.8% went on to 4-year colleges that year. And based on that, my program called SCORE became a California model, and years later, a national model. And many years later, my private business now. About the same time, I started writing personally, and I wrote my first book that was about losing a child. It was called Just in Heaven's Baby, and I wrote it more to heal than for anything, but once I wrote it, I realized that I had answered questions in writing that book that I struggled to find answers for, and that it was meant to be shared. So I learned how to publish, and shortly after wrote my second book that was Surviving Separation and Divorce. And this was the book that I was never going to share because that was too painful. Divorce shouldn't happen. And realized that it was meant to share too. So I had to do a lot of healing and a lot of growing. And in the aftermath of that, I volunteered to help lead divorce and grief recovery at Crystal Cathedral. Now, fast forward many, many years, and I've discovered that high-risk students and divorcing adults are very similar. We're just kind of like overgrown teenagers. And so those two have emerged along with the parenting focus into Lockett Learning Systems, where I am today.
Now, you know what? I want to take a quick break in just a bit, but I want to just back up a little bit and not. I want you to answer the question: how can some people completely just fall apart, and other people like yourself say, you know what, I'm going to just put one foot in front of the other, and I'm going to get going. So I want to take that apart just a little bit and give some people hope, because somewhere in there you've hit someone that's either lost financially, lost in a relationship, lost. Even a child. You're ministering to somebody. So when we come back, hit that a little harder, and then we're going to get on to what you're doing now. This is Your Wonderful Life.
Angels Radio.
AM 830.
Pastor Andy wants to tell you about Massage Heights.
I recently paid my first visit to Massage Heights, and I have to tell you, it was an amazing experience. I understand the therapeutic benefits of massage. It can reduce tension, stress, alleviate pain, and I have needs in those areas just like everyone else. I was just not expecting the wow I received at Massage Heights. Having a highly trained therapist who understands my body through touch and feel, and who provided a superior experience exactly meeting my needs, and in an environment nicer than most any I have ever experienced before. Summer is ending and school is starting. Give back to yourself after all that running around for back to school. Mention ESPN and or AM 830 in scheduling an introductory appointment with Massage Heights through September and receive a free revitalizing foot scrub valued at $40 as part of your service.
Offer available to first-time visitors in any of the following Massage Heights locations: Irvine, Mission Viejo, Newport Beach, Chino Hills, and Rancho Cucamonga. Go to massageheights.com to connect to the participating retreat nearest you. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins welcome.
Hello, everybody. Pastor Andy Q here with some bad news. If you spend one dime anywhere, you might be getting ripped off. You see, your friendly neighborhood store, dry cleaners, restaurant, or whatever takes credit cards. Then their not-so-friendly bank is overcharging them for the cost of credit card processing. Guess who ends up paying for the overcharges? You do. Help stop the rip-offs. Have your friendly neighborhood merchant call Lisa at American Payment Solutions. They provide credit card processing for the lowest amount with none of the so-called hidden charges. How do they do it? They keep a low overhead and they're honest. How do I know? I've known their CEO for over 25 years. For a free cost comparison, that's right, free, right over the phone, call your local rep Lisa on her cell phone at 949-584-2884. That's Lisa at 949-584-2884. For quality credit card processing for less, call 949-584-2884.
How long must I pray? Must I pray to you? How long must I wait? Must I wait for you? How long till I see your face, see you shining through?
Pastor Andy Q, it is Your Wonderful Life. Angels Radio, AM 830 KLAA. You've heard of the Angels, haven't you? Yes, indeed. Boy, oh boy, it's great to have some, there's electricity. Even during the week, we came out here and did some business. And even though, it's when they were away playing at Oakland. Yeah. And, a day game. But, there's electricity in this place. Even when the stadium is empty, there's electricity here. It's much, much better when they're winning.
It's that postseason.
Talk about winning. Here's a woman that's going to help you win in life. It's Sharon Marshall Lockett. And in addition to all of the credentials she has, the author of 20 books and professor of education at Vanguard and so on and so forth, I think she's got some great life credentials, having survived divorce, having survived what many people believe to be the absolute worst of human experiences, and that's burying a child. She had to bury a baby. She was a single parent, and she really lost it all there for a while, a real Job experience. But she came out on the other side and is going to help us do the same when we're going through difficulties, because sooner or later, if you're in a season of blessing right now, enjoy it, because
Absolutely.
I found life goes, you're on the mountaintop, you're in the valley.
Let's not limit that word blessing. A lot of people use it to only speak of the things that are enjoyable in the moment. Oh, I'm blessed with a good paycheck. Oh, I'm blessed with a good house. But, it's like, how often in the Bible do we see people being blessed with trials and tribulations that they learn from and become better people for?
Sometimes it's those difficulties that we would never want to go through really help us to grow. Is that what happened with you? Did you grow from these difficulties, Sharon? You'd mentioned that some of your books were cathartic, and you hadn't really intended on releasing all of these writings, but you did, and they helped other people.
They helped me tremendously. In fact, one of the things I'll say, you mentioned earlier that some people seem to bounce through. If they do, they're in denial. We can't have our life fall apart when we've given it our all and have it unaffect us. And I sound like I have it all together, but I want you to know it was tough. And I didn't have it all together at first. And in fact, so often a friend would say, you're doing better. And I would say, I'm just a good fake. Times were tough. And somehow I got through it. And people would say things to me then. In fact, one of them said, well, now remember Job, you don't have it so bad. And I would say, someday I'm going to write his sequel. And I was bitter, and I meant it. The neat thing is, that today it's one of the most joyous things I do. I will never understand how Job didn't get back anything he lost, but the end was better than the beginning.
Right.
But I understand it personally, that I didn't get my baby back, but life is wonderful now. I didn't get my husband back, but my husband now was worth waiting for.
Yes.
But it took a lot of work, a lot of growing, and journaling is incredible therapy. When I wrote my book, Just in Heaven's Baby, one publisher that turned it down wrote me a sweet rejection letter. And he said, we've just published a similar book and we don't compete with ourselves. But I want you to know that I can tell by reading your book that writing it was worthwhile if no one ever reads it, because I can see that it healed you.
Wow.
And I somehow had to tell Justin's story, and I had to heal from that pain before I could even face the pain of divorce.
How long of a time was it between the time you lost the infant to the divorce?
13, or it was within 1 month of burying our baby. My husband, who was an alcoholic, hit the bars and never ever came back home. Grief is hard, and he ran through alcohol. And I kind of wished I could many times. It wasn't who I was. And I had a son.
Now, so then two sons total?
2 sons, and the second child lived 4.5 months.
4.5 months. Yeah.
My other son is a wonderful adult now, and I have a 3-year-old grandson who is my Justin's namesake.
Oh, my
So I feel
goodness.
doubly blessed right now.
Yeah. Now, so Justin's big brother was
Jeff.
And how much older was Jeff?
He was 2.5.
2.5.
Between 2.5 and 3.5 in his little life, there were 4 major deaths. One of them, his little brother and my infant son.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost our home, we moved, life fell apart, and the 2 of us started over again.
Now, did you put that one foot in front of the other, like you'd mentioned in the last segment? Was it partially out of motivation for Jeff, for the older boy, to keep yourself together for his sake?
Absolutely, absolutely. And God always gives us a reason to live. We just have to find it. I wouldn't probably have gone on without him. And my pastor, when my husband left and he had carried us through the death of a child and the hospitals and the surgeries and all, my pastor said, if Jeff were my son, I would put him in counseling now. I wouldn't wait 10 years to see the problem surface. That is amazingly powerful advice, because I was too down on me at the time to go out and get help. I wouldn't have sought a counselor. I wouldn't have thought I was worth counseling. But I would have done anything to help my son, and helping him got help for me.
Now, when you were down on yourself, is that part of the baggage that comes from living with an alcoholic and sort of carrying his baggage and some of the stuff that he puts on you?
It's part of the baggage that comes from being in any kind of a dysfunctional home. And I often say that in the recovery classes that I was Mrs. Jerry and I was Jeff's mom. And I loved it and I never wanted to be anyone else. But somewhere in the process, I lost Sharon. I will never lose Sharon again. God didn't intend for me to.
How strange is it that piled on such a heap of grief and so much loss that somewhere in that big pile you did find Sharon again?
Yes.
And you found it through writing and through journaling and through that process.
Right, and through a lot of other things.
And then the journaling led to publishing, which led to a source of income and career. And of course, you're the founder of Lockett Learning Systems. I want to just look at that because, man, just in your website and in your theme of the organization, it just says so much. Listen to this, Bill. Mr. Bill, it says, Lockett Learning Systems is committed to the coaching model to bring about systematic and life changes rather than just providing information.
Right.
We're often deluded into thinking somehow enlightenment is going to bring about change. But we could sit there in the pews or in the lecture halls and hear some really great things and go, whoa, that's astonishing, but not change.
Absolutely. We have to get it from our head to our heart before we change. We have to, and understanding is important. I'm a teacher after all. It's important that we comprehend, but we have to move it from comprehension into our heart, into our soul, before we can make some life changes.
And this seems to transcend neuro-linguistic programming. This is like soul programming that you're talking about.
It is.
We believe that in the ideal, that every student can achieve at a level of content mastery. Wow. You know, that seems not just for high schoolers on their way to college or college students on the way to discovering their career, but that sounds like it might be some good advice for, say, somebody roughly, 56 years old.
Sounds like it would.
Do we need to check the ID to make sure you got that number right?
That's pretty close.
And one of the things that I discovered working with the students that is actually profound with all of us is the holistic approach. That we look at mind and body. And when I went to school many moons ago to learn how to teach, we were taught just the facts, ma'am, the dragnet style.
Yeah.
And take your emotions out of it. Well, we now know that you can't teach half a child, that we also have to learn how to incorporate the spiritual. Whether or not we're religious, everyone has dreams, goals, and values, and we don't know how to deal with those. And we now believe, based on brain research, that until you incorporate emotions, no real learning occurs. So we dealt with a holistic approach with our high-risk students, which is why they didn't just graduate in good numbers. They went on to college and they graduated from college. What
is the application for our adult listeners out there who, when you make a statement like emotion and that's a needed component, I think that there might be somebody out there who says, that's it, maybe I'm going to put down the glass, or that's it, I'm going to turn off the TV, or this is the day that turns my life around. Sometimes disgust can be a pretty powerful emotion if someone isn't right where they are.
Disgust is anger-based, and they say that men mask tears with anger, and women mask anger with tears.
Man, is that right?
But they're both masks.
Can I hear that again? Could you just say that one more time? Because I'm just trying to wrap my head around that.
Men mask tears with anger, and women mask anger with tears. It's not okay for a woman to be angry, but it is okay for a man. It's not okay for a man to cry, but women can.
But it sure gets us in trouble when my feelings are hurt and I lash out. Well, I think it happened once or twice in my marriage, and I lash out. Man, suddenly the issue is about anger. It's not about whatever the first thing was that hurt me, that I was masking with anger.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. I get the sense that you know so much, not just because of your education background.
Absolutely not.
But because of the old school, oh, hard knocks.
Yes. And of being a parent. When my son struggled in school, I had to find the answers. I couldn't blame another parent. It was me that had to take it. So even parenting helps us.
Did you feel extra pressure as a teacher? Like, boy, if I can't teach my own child, what's going on? What's wrong?
Oh, it used to embarrass me to tell my son's teachers what I do for a living. Yes, I felt extra pressure.
Did they judge you?
Sometimes. And I had to learn how to speak up without being threatening. Say, hey, we're both teachers here. Let's talk the same language.
Yeah.
But it was tough.
We can learn a lot just by being in the world and just roaming and blessing as we go, hopefully. You say you learn a lot when you listen to what children, employees, and critics have to say. You learn perhaps even more from what is not said. What does that mean, from what is not said?
My most poignant example comes with working with my high-risk students. I interviewed the 600, the original group, one-on-one. And when I would say, what's going on in your class? Why are you getting a D or an F? The number one response absolutely blew me away, even though I had been a teacher for 10 years. The number one response when they got real with me was to drop their head and say, I don't know. I think I'm stupid. And I would say stupid is not a word in SCORE's dictionary. We're going to throw that out and we'll never use it together again.
SCORE is your...
SCORE was my one of the Lockett learning programs, the one that became a national model. And then we would dig a little bit deeper. And I asked them just all kinds of questions, and they would say, I've got a rotten, awful, racist teacher. Well, one of the things that I learned is that when a student tries and fails and tries and fails and tries and fails, they reach a point where they think, I would rather be seen as belligerent than stupid, and they shut down and say, I don't care. Well, there's no such thing as a child who doesn't care. Sometimes we would ask the teachers and counselors about their parents, and they would say those parents don't care. It must be biologically impossible for a parent not to care. So we have to have a whole different mindset that says everyone cares. Everyone wants to succeed. There's no such thing as a child who's born wanting to die in the streets. Everyone wants their marriage to work. There's no such thing as someone who gets married expecting to be divorced and wanting that.
This is what I find so fascinating about you, Sharon, is that you move seamlessly through your work in designing education systems for young people, but then you apply it to older folks. And this is what I used to love about work with in my undergraduate when I studied social psychology and the work of Kurt Levin, who would study children to understand adults, because the emotions are stripped down and everything is purer in essence. They haven't quite been as good at masking as you have said in some cases. Friends, we're talking with Sharon Marshall Lockett. She can be reached through the LockettLearningSystems.com, and you can get everything from work about grief, overcoming grief, to really how to get your kids to enjoy and look forward to doing some homework.
Absolutely.
You've been through divorce. You've written about that. You've lost a child. You've written about that, and you invite the rest of us along for a ride. LockettLearningSystems.com. Is that the best?
That's right.
Now, Mr. Bill is putting things on that website and the Facebook pages as we as we sit? How can people get
Absolutely. Well, head on over to Facebook, and you can find us there at Your Wonderful Life. We're also available on Twitter and wherever fine websites called PastorAndyQ.com are sold. But yeah, you can reach out to us on the Facebook page, join in the conversation. I have links to Lockett Learning and all of that good stuff, as well as other resources. And certainly your ability there is to have conversations with those people around the corner and around the world, because we're pretty darn popular these days.
Do you know, Sharon, you had mentioned that your pastor had given you some good advice. Somewhere along the line, while you were going through these difficulties, sounds like you had a church to go to and work through. How did that spiritual dimension play a role in your healing?
I did. When I moved, I had to find a new one, and that was difficult. But every Sunday, I would leave church knowing that God was bigger than anything I could face. That was powerful. It didn't seem to matter what I would go through and how discouraged I was during the week. Every Sunday, I knew that God could get me through.
So you went from Sunday to Sunday knowing that and getting your recharging, even though, sometimes Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday might have been pretty...
Well, and then I went from Wednesday to Wednesday to the counselor.
Oh, so, I see. Yeah.
And they both helped tremendously.
Yeah. When you say you can grasp the lie of criticism, when you can grasp the lie of criticism and let it go, you're ready to take charge of your journey. When you can grasp and act on the grain of truth in criticism, you are on your way to achieving success. There's a lot of the student still in you.
You read well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Your homework. That is very true. I guess that people like me are very thin-skinned, and I like for people to like me. And when a criticism comes, and it does to all of us, if we instead of buckling under and getting our feelings hurt, if we can look at the fact that there is a grain of truth in every criticism and throw the rest away and deal with the grain, we're off and running. Hard to do.
Yes, it is. And I think that you have an advantage, and you teach that advantage to other people and help people realize they're students, because we tend to be followers. And when someone says something and we give them that much power to follow what they say 100% and say, well, this is, this is the absolute gospel truth. It came out of your mouth, so I'll accept it all. And, we don't benefit from that kind of criticism, nor do we benefit from, if someone says something constructive, if we believe our own headlines and we lap that up, it's going to be, I don't know what the old proverb is. Too much honey is not good for you, neither is accepting too much praise. So it can go the other way. What are you mostly into these days? What's the big message that you have? Because you've got your fingers in a lot of pies.
I think my big message is that there's always a way out. That with high-risk students, there's no such thing as a student who can't make it. It's just figuring out, what do you do next? Where do you go from here? And every student can achieve. They can graduate. They can go to college if that's what they want. And there's nothing in life that can really flatten you to where you can't get up again. There always is hope. There always is a way.
You've been married to your husband now for 20 years. Is that right?
Milton, it's 14.
14.
Uh-huh.
You were just dating 6 years. I don't know where I got 20. Beats me.
20 sounds like a good number.
20 sounds like a good number. I'll go for that. He was worth waiting for.
Yeah.
I was single for a long time. I raised my son as a single mom, and that was a good thing.
Was that by choice?
No. I always wished that there was someone in my life, but it was partly because I was a really stubborn case. I had a lot of healing to do on the inside so that when I met and married again, it would be a healthy person and I wouldn't move back into a dysfunctional relationship. So often where divorce is concerned, and especially divorce where there's been a victimization or an addiction or something like in mine, you turn right around and marry that same person. And it took me a long time to figure out what was wrong with me, that those were the people I was attracted to.
Boy, that's a tall order to have to
Yes.
do that figuring out when you're going through so much pain and externally so much is happening, to try to look on the inside and to try to figure stuff out.
A lot of help.
Do you want to sell a book today or a talk? What would people like to go away from, or should they just go on to LockettLearningSystems.com and see this whole wagon load of things you've got to offer?
Let me narrow it a little bit. If you're a teacher, on Lockett Learning Systems, you want to look at SCORE and at study skills. If you're a school administrator, you want to look at SCORE because that's systemic change. It's how to set up the support programs. If you're a parent, you want Home Sweet Home work. That's what I learned working with high-risk students, put into parenting terminology to help your children get through the system. And what I learned as a parent, because my son was the teacher's kid and very tough getting through school. And if you are a grieving adult, you want to look at divorce and grief recovery. And if it hurts your heart, you need to heal it. If you are a parent of a grieving child, my son and I, my adult son and I, have co-authored a book called Take My Hand, Guiding Your Child Through Grief. Very powerful book. To write it with your son is just an amazing experience.
See, that's the part. That's the part of you I want. I want you speaking at our church. I don't book people to speak at our church these days. We've got some good speakers. But, man, you're a sage, and you've got a lot to teach people. And it's
and I love doing it.
Oh, man, and I can tell because you've made it through, and you've got a message of hope for other souls out there that need to know that they can make it. And friend, if you're on a journey and it's tough going, here's someone who has made it to the other side and can tell you, go on, God's in control, and he's going to see you through this.
Absolutely. Do whatever's next, and then keep doing that. And one day, you'll realize that it's wonderful.
Sharon Marshall Lockett, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of our evening here on AM 830, and the show is Your Wonderful Life. God bless you. Thanks.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to unpack this a little bit and see what you have to say. This is Your Wonderful Life.
Angels Radio.
AM 830.
The show you're listening to is Your Wonderful Life. We have been incredibly blessed for over 5 years to be on the air. We receive generous help from our sponsors and donors. However, most months we come up just a little short. Won't you help keep us on the air by giving a donation of any amount? Even $1 will help. The great news is that we are growing our listenership. So what could be better? We could expand this ministry and let people know that they can have a wonderful life in other places around the country. Won't you prayerfully consider helping us grow this ministry and get the good news out to lost souls who desperately need an encouraging word? Please look for Your Wonderful Life on Facebook or click on PastorAndyQ.com to find out how to give your tax-deductible gift. That's PastorAndyQ.com and help us bless others with the message of Your Wonderful Life. And may the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.
Massage Heights, offering premier massage experiences across the U.S. and Canada, has come to Southern California. Massage Heights is unique in offering top-notch therapy at an affordable price in a resort-like setting. Their massages are customized, one price for any blend of modalities. Their licensed massage therapists have been trained to help you identify your needs and will offer just the right therapy for you, be it for pain, tension, stress, or just plain relaxation. All of their sessions include free aromatherapy. Celebrate autumn and cooler weather by taking advantage of the fall special. Mention ESPN or AM 830 in scheduling an introductory appointment during the month of October and receive free hot stone therapy, valued at $40 as part of your service. Offer available to first-time visitors of any of the following Massage Heights locations: Irvine, Mission Viejo, Newport Beach, Chino Hills, and Rancho Cucamonga. Go to MassageHeights.com to connect to the participating retreat nearest you. Open 7 days a week, walk-ins welcome.
I know who I am. I know
I hope you know who you are. I know who you are. You're that one listening to the radio right now. It's Angels Radio, AM 830, KLAA, and the show's called Your Wonderful Life. And every week we try to find people that are going to help you to have a better life. And we come across concepts and realities and stories that, we just hope bless you. Because sometimes you've got a mess that you need to find a blessing out of. Your messes can be blesses. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but your tragedy can turn to treasure. Mm-hmm. Your pain can be your passion, as we found out with our guest who, she's driving away as we speak. Look, I think we might have hit some chords with people because, this woman had it all. She had a lot of loss. I mean, a lot going on. My goodness, she lost a child when the child was, 3 months?
Something like that.
She had a divorce, and she was right. Most people don't survive a tragedy like that in their relationships. She had lost a job. She couldn't get work in her career, and that just ebbs away at your self-esteem. Mm-hmm. I'm just sure that there are people going through difficulties right now, and they tune in, and, we say, Your Wonderful Life, and they must think we're mocking them somehow because life is far from wonderful for many people much of the time. But we do know that you can get through it because, I've been through some difficulties. Bill, you've been through some difficulties.
On occasion.
What kept you from surviving that industrial accident and not just completely giving up? I mean, why are you not, on the street somewhere right now and instead you're in the upright position, encouraging other people tonight?
Well, it's, what I found is that it's not so much about what happens as much as it is what you do about it. People often ask, "Oh, why did this thing happen to me? Why did I lose my job? Why did this person I love so much die? Why? And the problem is, that I found is that, because this is our experience as human beings, that we look at the past and the why is not in the past. The how is in the past, but the why is yet to come. It's at some point in the future. Why did I have to move, have to be in such a bad situation financially that I had to move into my grandparents' house? Well, the why is here right now. It's like, why? Because it got me into a position where I met you and into a position where, you let me come on the show one time and got in a position where I just never left. And if somebody out there somewhere is benefiting from it, then that's the why.
This sounds eerily familiar because I remember when Lisa and I planted a church down in Ladera Ranch. Mm-hmm. We just so happened to have our first church service on September 16th, 2001. That was 5 days after the infamous 9/11. Mm-hmm. And the first sermon that I gave, I told people, you've come expecting to hear the answer to the question why. We're not going to talk why today. Let's talk about what. Yeah. What are you going to do? This is reality. This happened. Mm-hmm. Now what? And so we got into the what. Sometimes in our life we have to get into the what. And, our guest and maybe you after the accident and certainly me through some difficult times, the what has just been to put one foot in front of the other and just press on as best as you can and to lean heavily on the God that loves you so much. Mm-hmm. And friend, if you're going through some difficulty, I can tell you, it breaks God's heart too. He didn't set up this planet, this beautiful garden experience for you to have. He didn't set it up for you to have this pain and sorrow and grief. You're reaping the harvest from generations and generations of sin. Now, sometimes we are the problem. Sometimes we've got to take a good, cold, hard look in the mirror and realize that we're the problem. And if that's the case, there are things you can do, and we'll certainly help you any way we can and pray through it for you and help you along this path. Sometimes you're just an innocent victim. I think of my niece, Lori, who's battling cancer. I think of our own producer, Leah, who's battling cancer. It's being caught on the street when the drive-by hits. You didn't have anything against that gangster with the bullet, but you're the one that caught it. Sometimes we catch it. So there can be the whys, there can be the difficulties in life, but one of the whats is that God loves you so much, and He grieves with you. And somehow in His wisdom, He knows that you're going to be all right. You're going to make it. If you don't fall victim to the lies that it's all over and that you can't go on, but if you just somehow rest on Him, rely on Him, let Him carry you, and put that one foot in front of the other and move forward as best as you know how, because someday there's going to be the light of day, and you're going to see how this all makes sense, and you're going to see the why, the answer to the question that Bill is talking about. And you're going to see that, and you're going to get that and say, I wouldn't want to go through this in the same way again, but I'm so happy I did. I can tell you that from the education standpoint, I am happy from the standpoint of what I know now and what I've learned and the path that it led me on, that I lost a child. It sounds like you wouldn't want to suffer from an industrial accident and fire again. That's not the best, most comfortable way to learn.
No.
But you sure learned, and you sure reaped some things that you find value in your life. And I think even more importantly than what we find for ourselves is what you've said, Bill, that you can somehow help others along the way. If we can help you, we want to do so. We've got some resources. We'll send them to you. This is a non-profit ministry. Yes, we do have some sponsors that help underwrite the show, and we hope you support places like Massage Heights, a great institution, great place to get a massage. We hope you support those, but if you aren't out and about or you're not able to support the show in any direct way, just drop us a note. Tell us that we're somehow blessing you, because it's our privilege to be here and to meet with you and to come on the air. And if we can introduce you to Jesus Christ, that's the greatest blessing that we could possibly ask for us, because we've been blessed. And gentlemen, in the studio, I don't know what I would do without the Lord. He's certainly gotten me through some tough times, and this is where your life can be more wonderful, and your life can be better, and you don't have to be bitter. I hope that's true for you. I hope that you have made that decision, and if we can guide you along the way, drop in. You can drop into our church over there in Santa Ana at 1010 West 17th on a Wednesday or a Sunday, or you can call us, or you can look in the Facebook page under Your Wonderful Life. If we can connect in any way, it's our privilege to do so, because we want to help you. We want to help you to have a wonderful life. Good night, and God bless.
For me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I recently paid my first visit to Massage Heights, and I have to tell you, it was an amazing experience. I had a highly trained therapist who understood my body through touch and feel, and who provided a superior experience exactly meeting my needs, and in an environment nicer than most any I have experienced before. Celebrate autumn and cooler weather by taking advantage of our fall special. Mention ESPN AM 830 in scheduling an introductory appointment with Massage Heights during the month of October, and receive free hot stone therapy valued at $40 as part of your service. Offer available to first-time visitors at any of the following Massage Heights locations: Irvine, Mission Viejo, Newport Beach, Chino Hills, and Rancho Cucamonga. Go to massageheights.com to connect to the participating retreat nearest you. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins welcome.
The show you're listening to is Your Wonderful Life. We have been incredibly blessed for over 5 years to be on the air. We receive generous help from our sponsors and donors. However, most months we come up just a little short. Won't you help keep us on the air by giving a donation of any amount? Even $1 will help. The great news is that we are growing our listenership. So what could be better? We could expand this ministry and let people know that they can have a wonderful life in other places around the country. Won't you prayerfully consider helping us grow this ministry and get the good news out to lost souls who desperately need an encouraging word? Please look for Your Wonderful Life on Facebook or click on PastorAndyQ.com to find out how to give your tax-deductible gift. That's PastorAndyQ.com, and help us bless others with the message of Your Wonderful Life. And may the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.